Welcome to this week's live video. The big news is Trump's visit to China and the planned Trump Xi Jinping summit has been delayed. That comes at the request of Trump, who said that this was not the right time to do the summit with a war going on with Iran. Obviously, the US president realized the optics of a Grand Summit in Beijing, him being wined and dined by the Chinese, as he said he expects, would be very bad optics as a war goes on, risking the lives of U.S. servicemen and women. Similarly, this would have been not so great optics for Beijing. Beijing has made it clear repeatedly, including to its own people, that it views the war and the U.S. conduct as wrong, and it would have looked very odd indeed to be hosting Trump in Beijing at the same time. There's more to it for Beijing, though, that makes them welcome this delay for the summit, now expected perhaps to happen in May. First of all, this gives Beijing an opportunity to sit back and watch the U.S. continue to erode its international status. There's the new survey out by Politico that looks at how four key allies of the U.S. now view the U.S. and China, and it is rather remarkable. Canada, first of all, 57% of Canadians now believe it's better to rely on China than on the US under the leadership of Trump. 57% say China, only 23% of Canadians say the same, or that they're better off relying on the US under Trump. For Germany, it's 40% to 24%. So 40% say it's better to rely on China versus only 24% of Germans say that about relying on the US. France, it is 34% to 25%. Again, with the 34% saying it's better to rely on China. And for the UK, it is 42% saying that, better to rely on Beijing, and only 34% saying that about that it's better still to rely on the US under Trump. That is a remarkable change from just a year ago. The tariffs, as we know, the Trump tariffs already were undermining US status around the world. The war is not helping at all. Meanwhile, back at home, the war doesn't seem to be winning Trump many points either. A new poll by NBC shows that more than half of U.S. registered voters are against continued airstrikes on Iran. And as the calendar gets closer to the midterm elections, the pressure is going to be on Trump to find so-called wins wherever he can find them. And that is something, as I've mentioned before, that China is very aware of. As we know, they don't have midterm elections, and they are very aware of the role of midterm elections in the U.S. and how that puts pressure on American politicians. Beijing knows that Trump and the Republican Party will be increasingly eager to find victories to display or to present to the American people. And often those can take the form, when it comes to U.S.-China relations, in the form of purchases of agricultural goods by China, also Boeing purchases, oil and gas as well. All those three areas, agricultural goods, Boeing, and also oil and gas, were raised earlier this week when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and USTR Jameson Greer met with their counterpart, Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, in Paris. So another thing Washington is now calling for with China is quote unquote managed trade. There's talk about a U.S.-China Board of Trade being created. Those are sweet words for Beijing. China's happy to have managed, quote unquote, managed trade with the US. It's certainly a lot better than erratic swings in tariff policy. And from China's perspective, it is worlds better than what we saw not too many years ago. Remember, during Trump's first administration, the pressure on China from Washington was all about actually China forcing China to try to change its mercantilist trade policies, create a more level playing field, the value of the currency, um, subsidies, hidden and apparent. Um, all these things were issues that were front and center in the US China economic and trade relationship. Well, now what we're hearing about is let's have more managed trade. Again, that's something that is only going to be welcomed by China. That's it for this week. Tune in next Thursday at the same time.